All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the WePlay Winter Madness Grand Finals. We have made it. 2 teams remain competing for what is that $100,000 prize pool on the line these last couple of weeks. It's been a lot of fun from the group stages all the way throughout the playoffs, but we've made it down to 2 teams, and we have OG taking on Gambit Esports in a best-of-5 series. Game number 1 to kick it all off. OG, a lot of people may not be too surprised to see them here, albeit they are playing with a stand-in as of now. Again, if you missed the news, PyCat no longer a part of OG. A couple of days ago, they officially announced the chemistry just wasn't working. ILTW, who has played with them a couple of times in recent history, is now their official stand-in. No word yet on terms of their actual 5th, if it's going to be him or somebody else down the line. But he has been playing in this event, and he has been looking good, pairing up very well for OG. On the other side of Gambit Esports, of course, a team that may be a bit more surprising to see here, but if you've been watching them throughout, they just took out 2 very good teams in the previous rounds, from Forward Gaming to now NIP in the previous round that we saw earlier today. Thus why they're here, so it's safe to say they deserve to be here. Will they be able to compete against OG, though? We'll find out next year on this game number 1. I'm Breaky CPK, joined once again by BSJ as well as Gods. We're also bringing in Draskyl here. Draskyl, start with you. Welcome to the cast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, doing good. Had a chance to watch the first series today when Gambit was playing against NIP. Just like really quick, when you're playing in a situation like Gambit and you're coming into a grand finals against a team who basically only had to play one best of 3 to get here, you're showing a lot more than they are, right? Like OG obviously haven't played like a ton of official matches since obviously they took PyCat and then obviously released him or whatever. So you've given up a lot of your game plan, which means this is the first time in the entirety of the tournament that the team has banned Visage against Gambit. So this might be like their true test to see if they got what it takes.
Gods, go to you now. Again, Visage being banned. They are obviously undefeated with it so far, so OG is starting off with the ban here. You think that's the best choice?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the good news, I'm happy as a Visage fan that the hero will remain undefeated. The bad news is I don't think we'll see him this best of 5. They're just too good with the hero.
BSJ, you're back as well. Obviously casting that first series right there, but here we go now. Gambit Esports, a different challenge against OG. They've been running a lot of the same stuff on Gambit's side, but no Visage no longer. Even a Shadow Fiend ban you see also coming out right there. So they're going to force Gambit Esports to try something new.
Yeah, I feel like OG and Gambit both prioritize similar support pools. We saw Gambit taking Lich Tusk last series, and now Lich Tusk for OG. I feel like Lich Tusk is just such a scary duo. You put it with any 2 heroes. You put Ice Armor or Frost Armor on them, and then you use the Tuskar tag team. And who can man up against that? Like, no hero in the game can even tank that. And I feel like the way OG plays, from what we saw in the limited amount of time we've gotten to see them with ILTW, is there's all-out aggression, all 3 lanes, and the Lich Tusk just like says even more about that, because those 2 heroes, whatever lane they show up in, no matter what core that can be, will be able to be aggressive. And they banned out the troll, which OG went for yesterday, but I just look to see how active OG will be. I wonder if Slardar will be highly prioritized this series. Both teams tend to prioritize minus armor and aggression, and with all these other heroes that have been banned, such as the Gambit, Signature, SF, and Visage, we'll have to see like what they choose to go, because we'll see something different out of them. As Draskyl said, this is the true test.
Bands to follow. 5th ban coming out right here for Gambit before that 3rd pick, but yeah, having to figure out something, again, different. They banned Juggernaut. Yeah, OG, back to them, though. We've only got to see them in a couple of series here, starting with their quarterfinals. But they have been playing fast. This is a team that's been, picking these aggressive heroes, building around ILTW. Despite being the stand-in player, they've been comfortable. That's why they chose him, obviously. And he has come into play and has fit very well so far. So again, we'll also get to see what core they put him on. Coddle is going to be the 3rd pick for Gambit.
They love this
another comfort pick.
Yeah. I was looking at some of the stats for Gambit as a team, and they're 6-1 with Coddle over 7 games. Visage, they're 11-2 with. Often they're picking these heroes together, which has been one of their strats we've seen. But as Draskyl just mentioned, yeah, very much a comfort pick for them.
How many games, if you can tell, did they play the Keeper with Dusa? Because I'm not sure how late into the tournament people started first phasing Dusa against them.
Let's see, you can have a little look. So of those games, it looks like about half, 3 of the 7 games they had Dusa as well.
Okay.
But they were all the recent games they had Coddle with Dusa, or 3 of their last 4 Coddle games. They had
Yeah,
Dusa.
they were pairing it a lot with Dusa and Tide, I believe, were their 2 favorites. Obviously, I like the meta stuff as well, but that was like the unfightable combo. It's like you have Will-O-Wisp and Ravage. It's like good luck ever walking into this team. It was just beyond absurd.
So OG thinking about that now, and yeah, that's right. The Tidehunter and another pairing that they most certainly could still go here in that 4th spot.
I think it leaves you a little bit like slow pace when you already have Coddle Dazzle. I mean, sure, Tiny is going to give you some momentum in the early game and stuff, and Dazzle's an alright lane support, maybe even could be played as a mid. That's a Razor. 3rd pick Razor, actually.
Saw a lot of
They
Razor
could
yesterday.
just make Dazzle core, and then they have no melee cores on Gambit side. I feel like is a potential weakness of this Razor pick. Like last time we saw it, I think we saw it twice yesterday. It was absolute last pick against a melee lineup or melee matchup mid, and it just like stomped it. But I feel
One
like
of the games it was against a Veno, to be fair.
Oh, interesting.
The other game it was against a melee mid, though. They played it in 2 different games. Once knowing the
Okay.
matchup, and once they picked it blind like this.
It's a bit of a deviation, though, because I feel like the last time that OG picked it, it's always at least 4th, and like you said, sometimes even last pick. And then they know that matchup is going to win, and then they give it to Thompson, and then LTW plays some core that just has like the late game finality where you can't really deal with it once it gets items. So it's a bit of a deviation from the norm, I feel.
They did play it in a very unique way against the Veno. Like the lane went pretty even, and then he didn't actually skill Static Link. He went for his Plasma Field and maxed his passive first, and just went and farmed the jungle. Like he was just playing this very farm-oriented Razor, which was kind of a different way to see the hero played.
So Gambit.
Wait, did he just not level Static Link at all?
Against Veno, he did not. He completely skipped it.
Oh wow, I didn't get the chance to see that game, so that's
If
good.
you think about it, though, the Razor pick actually kind of so Gambit have a tendency to always pick like their Underlord, their Tide, their whatever. If you have a Razor, it gives you a lot less incentive to pick one of those heroes because even though they carry aura items, you kind of turn into that ticking time bomb where if you do get fully Static Link, those heroes don't have a lot of mobility with the current item builds, and the Razor can just end up having like 280 damage or whatever once it gets talent every fight, and that could be a nightmare.
Weaver into the anti-mage. Oh, gee, they knew what they were picking in that 4th spot. No matter what came out there, it felt like.
Yeah. All right, it's so good. But the Lich Tusk, you've kind of secured the AM's game already, and then none of these heroes threaten the AM whatsoever. I'm sure BSJ is a big fan of this Weaver pick, one of his favorite carries
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Totally. I mean, it goes decently with Coddle, the cooldown reduction on Sakuchi, but I think Weaver's overall, like, it makes sense to draft him against the Razor as another core that does well in lane, but you just feel so bad playing Weaver against heroes like Anti-Mage because you feel like you're in such a rush to get stuff done, and they don't really have a great way to group up and force objectives with the lineup they currently have right now. And if you're not forcing objectives against Anti-Mage when you're a Weaver, you just don't feel good. And as you said, like I can't imagine this Anti-Mage having a bad start with the Lich Tusk. Like, doesn't matter what your core is. Like, those 2 supports alone will win the lane if you guys try lane it.
Is there ever a point in the game like post lane where Weaver is fun to play against AM? I feel like it's just never.
Yeah.
That's an Omni night.
Yeah, I've played this hero a couple times myself recently in pubs just to really try out the new Heavenly Grace and how it feels. It feels different. I will say the fact that it dispels off the bat is kind of cool, and gives that status resistance now could be really interesting for a hero like Razor or even the Anti-Mage, of course, and Synergy. But that is unique.
It's like a strong dispel, right? Like it's like an
Yes,
Abaddon
yeah.
shield? Okay.
It's strong to spell in the status res. It's actually pretty strong situationally. It's kind of like one of the big reasons before why a lot of people preferred like Abba to Omni is just having a strong dispel with the Aphotic Shield versus Repel. But now Omni can kind of do the same thing. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Doesn't bring crowd control, goes without saying, and overall OG's lacking crowd control a lot. I mean,
Well, both teams are, if
Yeah.
you think about it.
True.
And honestly, I'd say it probably favors OG because, like, what hero on the enemy team right now for Gambit can really deal with an anti-mage? I mean, normally in this situation, you'd want to look towards something like a TB, but I don't really know if Gambit could actually pick it in this state.
A lot of those typical mids are not heroes you want to play into AM as well, like those kind of heroes that can win you the game, like, you know, the Storms or the ODs and stuff can be a bit of a rough matchup at times.
I think Slardar is like their only choice, to be honest with you.
Do they not need? I guess, yeah, they could run Tiny mid. I'm just so used to seeing them 10th pick Alpha Ninja's hero, but
Or that.
Oh, that is actually a sick
That's-
Meepo game.
That's a sick Meepo.
These are heroes you always like. All of us forgot about it. Like,
I completely forgot about Meepo.
yeah, that's
So-
no way to deal with it. AoE OS.
What are we seeing? Okay, so their carry player, Daksak or Dahak, whatever, is playing the Meepo. So it looks like we'll see a mid dazzle. Interesting.
Yeah. This is.
This suddenly got it. Yeah, this suddenly got real interesting.
It's. I mean,
I
we're,
thought OG were like completely crushing the draft until the last pick.
you guys really like the Meepo. It's we all forgot about it, but yeah, on paper.
Well, it's understandable though, right? Because like we mentioned at the beginning, the Hawk hasn't had to play anything but Visage like the entire tournament. He's only played like one hero. So when you get to this stage and you finally ban it, he has another hero. Obviously, core players are going to play at least like what 3 to 5 heroes like very well. So yeah,
Meepo is the biggest anti-mage counter in the game. It's the hero anti-mage is worse at by a huge margin. I think even if you like, you can look at like the numbers on Dota buff from pubs. It's absurd just how big the disadvantage is. But even like pubs aside, this hero is just a hard counter to anti-mage.
I just saw the anti-mage pick and like I was so concerned about their last pick because I'm like they need to be able to catch his anti-mage and deal damage to kill anti-mage, and Meepo actually does all that. That's why I said Slardar, but Meepo does all of that, and he's much faster paced too. So, like like God said, all aspects of Meepo do counter anti-mage. By no means do I think this game's 100% over, but I have to go to Gambit with that last pick Meepo.
OG heavily favored as you take a look at the odds right there to go into game number 1, but. Yeah, you really got it's from the sound of it. Maybe deserves to be a bit closer. If you like those odds, though, you like to put a bet on them. You head over to es.bet and do so for these grand finals all throughout. Of course, all potentially 5 games in this best of 5. Take advantage of the insurance in play as well here for the WePlay Winter Madness tournament again. es.bet. So sounds like BSJ he likes that final pick Meepo and could see Gambit. But Gods, what about you before we let you go?
I'm going to go with OG still. I think the draft was super OG favored, like 80-20. I think the Meepo pick made it a bit more 50-50, and OG to me is the better team.
Fair enough. And into the laning phase we go. As far as game number 1, again, of this best of 5 grand finals. We were hyped going into it for good reason. Definitely some entertaining Dota so far, but what a finish to this draft. 2 heroes that have not been seen this whole tournament, Omni Knight or Meepo. I was double checking that. And either team picks up each one of those. So, going back to the Omni Knight, I mean, is there a reason why Omni Knight may actually be a bit of an issue for Meepo, or not so much?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Traditionally, Omni Knight doesn't really like early, fast 5-manning kind of teams, and I feel like with the Meepo, they can definitely do that. As Immersion's going to get harassed a little bit over here, just trying to deal whatever damage that they can.
With the link up, and with that link of Thompson, if he's able to get some right clicks on him, he's going to do so. It looks like Immersion will be fine, though. Yeah, very interesting first start here.
I mean, he's running towards the opposite side of the map. He's not having a great time at the moment.
True.
We're going to have a quick pause, I guess. But yeah, to the Omni Knight, it's strange because even when OG picked it up, I wasn't quite sure like what the purpose is other than enabling the Razor and the anti-mage in fights, because that's, traditionally what Omni Knight is always picked for. His laning phase is like, in some matchups, it's okay, but most of the time, he doesn't really do anything but just, get some farm here and there. But against heroes like Meepo and Weaver, you offer literally nothing, like from a support capacity. You are just putting your shield on one of your cores, throwing out a GA, and going for the heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this will be something. See how it plays out here ultimately. Speaking of Tusk, though, tag teams up. FNG is going to have to use the blinding light to push him off of him, and there's already plenty of action. I mean, maybe this is a taste of things to come here in game number 1 of this best of 5 series, as they're brawling quite a bit, but Ultimate Connell heading back to base. The mid matchup, though, it is the Razor versus Meepo. Look at this. So we talked about Meepo versus Anti-Mage eventually and how powerful he's going to be, but what about in this matchup in the middle lane? You think Razor should have a good time?
Well, the Razor's going to obviously have an advantage for the first 3 levels, but the thing about Meepo is that once the Hawk hits level 3, he just gets the second Meepo. He can go to the woods, try to farm, so it's going to be a lot about keeping tabs on where he is. And, OG obviously understand the threat. They even have Jerax kind of sitting mid at the moment, trying to, give Thompson a little bit more of an early game advantage. But eventually, the Meepo is just one of those heroes that's going to get his farm. It's like Shadow Fiend. Even if you bully him a bit, he's going to be able to recover.
Yeah. See the second Meepo coming out eventually, and then working from there. But yeah, Tusk camping that middle lane currently, and would like to try to get a kill out of it if they can, and it seems like they are pressuring. But at the bottom lane, as we see, FNG keeping his distance. Against what's the anti-mage and the Lich down here. Afterlife on Weaver. Also poking in for some last hits, but early CS suggesting that OG is having a very good time when it comes to this laning phase. Again, only a couple lanes in, but still.
I don't think that Gambit ever really expected to win the mid matchup after seeing the Razor. It's something that OG have been doing in their last series as well. Seb's getting a little bit low here, but should be A-okay. He's got a healing Seb, so he doesn't really have to go anywhere. They're going to get a kill on the Lich, too. Oh, no, never mind. He just suicided his tower. Yeah. I think he was Yeah, he was automatic. Just wanted to get his blue bar back to secure LTW's lane a bit more. Nice little thing you can do as a support for all you aspiring, like 4 and 5 players. If you're out of mana, dying to the tower is completely fine to just restore your mana bar and bring back your lane presence. Because if you're sitting in lane with no mana as a hero like Lich, you don't contribute anything. So no tail just gets a quick trip back to the base, TP's home, and then can continue to pressure.
Yeah, we see plenty of teams doing that. BSJ were just talking about the previous series, how it feels like one of those that, like with lane manipulation and everything, over time it's kind of adjusted to not allow for certain things. It's probably going to be changed somewhat, but we'll see eventually. Anyways, top lane, wow. Tusk goes down. F9G is going to fall as well on Dazzle, so it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade in the end, but that's it's going to be that first blood coming out.
Kind of surprising that OG weren't able to get the kill first, considering they have tag team. Usually that spell is like the end-all be-all in terms of early game damage. You have 2 heroes hitting 1 target, they usually explode, but didn't get to see the start of that skirmish, obviously. But yeah, nice for Gambit that they're able to get the kill lead.
Bottom anti-mage, he's going to blink in onto Afterlife and quick Sakuchi, and he'll be good to go. What are we looking at for a Weaver build? We see
he might be in trouble here.
He is dead, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, too aggressive.
A little too much. Mana break, pretty good, level 2. Plenty of damage from anti-mage, so.
Your Sakuchi cooldown's really long at low level. You can't afford to be like over aggressive, especially with like the double nuke build coming out from No Tail. He's obviously got the Frost Shield and the Blast. I think it's like 10-second cooldown at level 2 Sakuchi, so it's way too long for him to be playing like he was.
Yeah. He's going to go in again right here. This time LTW is the one that's in trouble, though. The auto attack will take him out, so he gets a bit of a response at least for Afterlife, and feels good about that one. Back into the lane he goes to continue his CS. Anti-Mage was low on life and low on mana, so not the end of the world for him, but obviously giving up the bounty to Weaver.
Yeah, those deaths are always like kind of whatever for a core. If you're really low on health and mana, it's the same reasoning as why No Tail just suicided at tier 2. Cores are a little bit different. You don't necessarily want to do that. But if you die in that situation, you're okay with it.
Again, Afterlife, though, he's out of mana, so forget the cooldown. You need the mana to use it. He's 5 mana shy, it looks like, after the stick pop. They kill Lich, though, and Afterlife will manage to survive. That blinding light helped him immensely to stay alive there. Great support from Coddle in that lane. So
yeah, it's a nice little counter.
I was going to say, focusing on Weaver real quickly, again, what kind of build are we going to see out of him, though? It's Afterlife playing as that offlane. We were seeing a little bit of that in last season of sorts before this patch. That Ags even potentially coming out. Could you see more of that utility or more of maybe this right-click build?
I think he probably wants to go a little bit more damage-oriented, because usually when you go the Agonist build, you have someone else on your team, I guess, who's going to be able to like just carry the game. In this case, they do have the Meepos. FNG is getting taken down pretty fast here. Frost Shield, 1 more tick, and an auto from LTW. Pretty good stuff. But yeah, I suppose Aghanims is possible, but to be quite frank, I don't really see much Weavers, so your guess is as good as mine at this point.
That's fair. Yeah, as of late, again, it's a pretty unique hero right now. We saw it once maybe earlier on in the event. 5-minute rune, so you got Omni Knights heading over. It's a late one there, but Immersion's able to bottle it up before Omni Knight can ultimately get there to take it. As far as Omni Knight goes on farm, his CS looking good. And across the board, it is actually looking fairly back and forth. Again, it's that mid matchup that right now is favoring Razor by quite a bit.
I mean, it's a couple of CS. The thing about Meepo is you give him like 5 minutes, and that guy is just going to like skyrocket in net worth. OG, though, trying to keep on the pressure. They get the 2-man smoke with the supports. They're looking to try to kill the Hawk here. They find him in the medium camp, but Jerax wasn't close enough nearby, so he's just going to poof away.
Poofs back to the mid, so he'll be fine, but now they're heading towards the mid lane, so they are still trying to make a play on him. In fact, the link is up, and Hawk realizing this, running away with one, and they're going to focus fire it. So you don't necessarily need the AoE damage as long as you got that focus fire on the one target. Tusk will snowball out as well, just in case. Lich is going to be picked off in response, but definitely worth it so far for OG as far as that kill goes. Blinding Light pushback. Thompson, though, he's going to commit to this because of that push with the Eye of the Storm active, but Coddle, a little too fast on that horse of his.
It was a nice reaction nonetheless. They get a counter kill. The Meepo needs to die like a lot. It's one of those heroes where you can't be satisfied with even 1 or 2 kills. They're gonna try to go on to Afterlife down here. He's got a lot of stick charges, uses the time lapse, should be fine. But so far, like for Gambit, this is actually like the pace is favoring them because the Meepo is gonna hit his stride way before the Anti-Mage. Like the Anti-Mage wants 2, maybe even 3 items in this game before he's gonna feel comfortable like walking to these fights. But the Meepo pretty much just needs like Blink, Treads, couple of Wraith Bands, and he can make like picks happen on the map. And even if he doesn't want to fight necessarily, then again, he's going to accelerate so much faster.
Don't know if you're much of a Meepo player yourself, but you mentioned like the early build, the Blink Treads, etc. But after that, something like the Ethereal Blade or a Scythe, perhaps. Is there a direction you'd expect to see him go there?
A lot of the time you see the E-Blade, especially against these heroes that don't really have a way of dealing with the nets, because you can just get the burst damage out and kill them really quick. It's good stats. It's like no tail. Ooh, gets the gaze. Yeah, he's gonna go down.
Still falls.
But yeah, usually you see the E-Blade. Hex is obviously very good as well, because you can just blink on the AM, insta-hex into a net, it's free kill. Pretty much anyone on the side of OG would die to that.
Well, keep an eye out for it, but again, Razor continues to be on top. Thompson played it a couple times yesterday in their series that we witnessed as bottom lane ILTW. It is enough damage. He popped the counterspell, but at that point, it wasn't really reflecting anything. So, and the tip even coming out as well on top of that. So, a little bit of rubbing salt in the wound right there, trying to get some tilt going. But again, early game favoring Gambit as a team. Is still this Razor impact, though. Did I see that right? Is he building a Rod of Atos on Razor? I think I saw that.
I can double check for you just to make sure. Yeah, he's got it on quick buys still, and I believe he's purchased some of the items. It's kind of similar to what the Yules offers you, except it's more tankiness because you're obviously going to get the double crowns. Interesting though.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that one before.
Well, we saw yesterday again a couple times. He went for things like S&Y or the Yules or whatever, but he's just yet another game, another change-up as far as.
Oh, I know why. It's for the Meepo specifically because you can't poof when you're rooted because it's a mechanic where you no longer can TP away. So I don't think you can poof either.
Okay.
So if that's the case, then that's definitely why he's buying it. I'm not 100% on the whole poof versus root thing,
That
but I'm
makes
pretty
sense.
sure you can't.
That would
Yeah,
make
I'm pretty
sense,
sure.
definitely, yeah. As far as why he's committing for it then. We saw the quad Wraith Band early on Meepo, so again, no surprise there. Just in general, powerful early build item, but Meepo even at another level as far as making use of it. Dazzle we haven't talked about too much yet, but he's having good success up at that top lane in the Omni Knight matchup, and I'm expecting that Necronomicon build, of course, on him. And again, technically being played by Afanage here, so he's, well, technically a mid-player, but I haven't seen that in this case, so prioritizing farm, though, is the point.
I mean, right now, Gambit's cores are pretty much getting what they want. They're going to go for another smoke here onto the Hawk. He's got the nice little Meepo split going on. And again, another foiled attempt. 3-hero rotation, not really getting much. And the problem is, they're like leaving this anti-mage solo against a Weaver, which is definitely not where LTW wants to be. Like, he's getting, like, a little bit of farm, but right now he's being outpaced by Seb, who's playing an Omni Knight. And again, we talked about that hero's, like, not particularly useful in the sense of being able to perform against the enemy cores, but he's more of an enabler than anything else.
Yeah.
Oh god, Jarex just got poofed on.
Yeah. I like it. He got poofed on. Yes. Yes, he did. And the bounty rune control on top of that. Look at it. I believe. Are they going to get every single one? No, it looks like Anti-Mage was able to sneak one in for himself, but I'm pretty sure it was a 3-for-1 favoring Gambit on top of the hero kill that we just saw prior to it. So, again, looking good. Now, Razor working on that Rod of Atos, almost has it finished. You got to assume with this hero especially as well, they need Thompson to start making some moves maybe with the team in those smoke ganks.
Yeah, well, I think, again, if the poof functions like I think it does, and I'm not incorrect about the whole functionality of the Atos versus him, then he'll start doing stuff as soon as he finishes that item. I'm almost positive. Because they're looking to make room, especially for LTW. He needs to be on a much faster pace right now of farm than he is currently.
Top lane, big fight brewing here. Getting tossed back on Omni Knight, but he still wants to pursue. In fact, Jarex with the shard block, Afanage here. Oh, that's a mana void. No chance to survive as soon as that came out. Will-O-Wisp also a little bit too late. The Illuminate damage doing plenty. Seb getting low himself, but no one actually dying from the follow-up. So Gambit trying their best. Could not respond, though, when the core Dazzle does go down. Top lane.
OG taking a lot of damage just for getting a dazzle kill. Not really the greatest. And they're having to commit a lot of these heroes. I mean, right there, LTW TP top. Obviously, now he wants to overtake the lane and farm and stuff. But these are really big commitments. You know, it's leaving Afterlife free to farm on the bot lane, on the Weaver. The Hawk hasn't really been pressured that much. And sure, Thompson's net worth is still the highest, but they can't really afford to play slow at all. Because you can see it's already a 3K net worth. Not a single tower has dropped.
Yeah.
It's not even 12 minutes in. So you can definitely tell efficiency-wise, Gambit are just getting a lot more out of the early game.
Oh, look at Afterlife. He's got the early earn on top of the power treads, which he just completed. In fact, he's diving Tusk down here. Not going to be a kill. Going to pressure him away, though. And speaking of a tower push, that's exactly what he's doing at that bottom lane. But again, the early earn makes me wonder what kind of build we are going to truly see. You like the idea of maybe being more damage focused, but earn suggests perhaps more utility instead.
I wouldn't hate it, to be honest, because again, it's about having another core on your team when you're playing like this 3-position Weaver, I guess you could call it, that you want another core that's going to be the guy who wins you the game. And that's pretty much what Meepo's for. So if you have that guy, then you can afford to go like this Urn or Vessel or whatever, and then like you were mentioning, maybe you could possibly see an Ag like later into the game and stuff to like save a Meepo from dying or something. I could definitely see it happening. It's just, you know, what do they feel they need?
Well, Razor feels like they need a Solar Crest, but Razor needs to survive right here. Eye of the Storm to Hawk, though, trapping him in with the Ensnare, and there's no chance he gets out of it. So a great find from Meepo. Mentioned just as soon as he gets that Rod of Atos, trying to make a play, but he found himself a little bit too much.
Well, I was kind of expecting him to make a play with his teammates, not just
True.
like casually walk up high ground blind, you know? I mean, it's kind of, maybe blind is harsh because he does have a ward like on the left side of the top shrine. So he saw like between the tier 1 and the tier 2 and that part of the shrine, but he didn't see the Meepo because there's like a patch of trees that blocks the vision. So it's just, he kind of got baited by his own ward, I think, when he walked up that hill. But otherwise, yeah, I expect to see them to make some more moves around the map. In the meantime, Afterlife secures a tier 1 in the safe lane. And it's just like that, man. The lead has doubled. Went from 3K to 6K in like a minute.
Meepo Gaming especially, but all three cores are doing well. And here's that smoke play now. Razor going to join them. He hasn't smoked himself, but they're going up as 4. But this seems a bit more obvious, perhaps. Coddle nearby. He might tank this, which, again, if you're Gambit, you're not necessarily the most disappointed by. But they're wrapping all the way around. This is very odd right now, as far as they're kind of wrapped around.
So he might be okay with dying for this. He might not even die for this. Okay,
No.
Here we go.
And they're fighting on a shrine. That's a dangerous spot, of course. Out comes the Chain Frost. Aphrodite's going to get the Shallow Grave off at the last second. Yes, he can. So he's going to be fine for the time being. Toss back in on Thompson. And Thompson on the run. You see the minus armor from the bad Juju as well. To Hawk. He's coming in with the Ensnares to clean things up. OG getting absolutely wiped in this smoke play. A 4-for-0. And that means Roshan.
Oh, God. This is actually so bad for OG. Okay, so when you play Meepo, there's a couple of things that you really want. Obviously, you want the solo EXP. That's why we see him mid so often and why we see him mid in this game. And you want the jungle for a little while into Roche, and then you use like your experience advantage and your just insane amount of DPS to mow down towers and stuff. And they have a great supporting cast for the Meepo in this game. Like this last pick, I think Gods mentioned it when he was saying like OG was winning the draft really hard until like the last pick. This Meepo has completely changed the dynamic of the game.
Yep.
And right now, if you look at the net worth of Meepo versus the AM, it's like a 3K lead almost at 15 minutes, which is enormous. That's like almost a full item at this early stage in the game. This is going to be so tough for OG.
Who said Gambit was a one-trick pony? They're starting strong here in game number 1. 10,000 net worth lead now. Ethereal Blade was finished on Meepo, and I think he went straight for it. He did not even get a blink at this point. So right into the Ethereal Blade, massive burst damage. Speaking of that, Lich, he's found by Tiny, who's being played by Immersion. So again, technically the support Tiny roaming around. 1,800 gold saved up. Trying to finish that Blink Dagger coming up nicely. That's just another thing that OG is having to be massively concerned about. Thompson back to him in the middle lane. Swarm is up. Again, the bad Juju minus armor. He'll survive. ILTW goes down at the top lane, though, to Meepo. And Thompson's still probably going to die. Afterlife is in. However, the snowball save initially, that Urn's taking him down. This is a great shard block coming out from Jerax. It keeps Thompson alive. Are you kidding me? And Omni Knight with the heal to turn onto Weaver. That was a hell of a save from Jerax.
Yeah, that was the whole team again, though. Like, every time stuff like that happens, OG are TPing like 2, 3, 4 heroes to one location on the map. And against a Meepo, like, as great as that play was, you can't take anything away from Jerax and the Ice Shards. The execution was on point. But it's more of like the overall game plan of how they're having to play versus a Meepo who just solo killed your anti-mage and is pushing down top with an Aegis and like E-Blade quad Wraith ban and treads. It's a uphill battle to say the least. They need to find a way to kill this Meepo 2 times somehow, or just completely avoid fights, I guess, and try to wait until LTW has enough items to feel confident in split pushing. But this is the true struggle of the AM versus the Meepo battle, is that at no point in the game does the AM really feel confident in pushing a side lane, because especially once the Meepo gets like Blink, for example, if the Hawk wants to go back for it, I've seen some Meepos go Shadow Blade depending on the game. Once you get that item that allows you to threaten the side lanes, the AM feels like he has no map to play. And I'm sure like BSJ can elaborate on this a bit more, because obviously he's more experienced core player than I am, but it feels like in a game like this where you're anti-mage and your team can't do anything for you to create pressure on the map, this is like the hardest of hardest anti-mage games.
Yeah, this is getting out of hand, and it's hard to find those situations where OG is able to climb back in, but again, slowing it down as much as you can, easier said than done. Find the room for ILTW to at least somehow get set farm and try to at least have that impact, but looks like, okay, we are ready to go. Coming out of the pause right here. You also may notice Afterlife, obviously dead right now, but he is building a Maelstrom. So he is going to start focusing more on the damage, at least right now. A little bit of a farm build, so you're not ultimately too sure 100% where he's going to go from there. But I'll also say this, Omni Knight in the mid lane, Holy Grace saves him for now, or Heavenly Grace, excuse me. It just doesn't matter, though. In the backlands here, the Chain Frost going out, but Lich dies. Looks like they catch him with the Will-O-Wisp to take him out. Meepo, of course, a big part of that. So, but yeah, the Omni Knight impact has not been felt, unlike that final pick Meepo on the other side.
Yeah, this is looking to be like almost a 20-minute GG. Like, I don't like dismissing teams or anything like that. It's just, it's a 13k lead in a 16-minute game, and I like Thompson is even just getting ran down to the tier 2 right here. He's dead. Like, there's really nothing that, because OG's team fight isn't good. They were playing for the lanes, right? They're playing for the lanes, and they wanted their AM to get off to a good start. And as soon as LTW starts being confident in his side lane pushing and stuff like that, they can play as 4 and let him do his thing, right? But the Meepo pick just completely destroys all of that.
Zeb, he's going to be able to kite away from the Avalanche, but they're already pushing tier 3. In fact, they're doing it at 2 different lanes, middle and the top. Meepo, he makes his way to the middle lane. The Frost Shield is up, mitigating as much damage as can. Razor is also going to resurrect at the time being. The combo on his Zeb going to get the GA off. He doesn't even if he does right there, he, still plenty of magic damage. So either way, he's dead for 30 seconds. So that's a tier 3 tower kill. And Gambit, we see this plenty throughout this tournament. Why would they stop? They're feeling cozy right now.
Yeah, Meepo's not even bothering with initiation, and they just go back in. They kill No Tail. Jax is going to get another nice shards here, but it doesn't matter. It's going to get hit by the Earthbind. This Rax is surely to fall. There's no way the AM can come to this fight. Like, if he TP's home, they're basically conceding the fact that the game is just over.
Yeah.
Like, this is, again, a ridiculously tough situation for OG. If they could push them out of the base even once right now, I would be surprised.
See the odds right there. If you have hope in the anti-mage, maybe you can see yourself betting on set odds, but heavily favoring Gambit here in game number 1. You head over to es.bet if you like to play set wages. But Thompson, he just gets tossed back in again. Anti-mage is now, he's now here, at least trying to be. Never mind, he's running over. Guardian Angel is used. Chain Frost bouncing around. Plenty of targets. That Mana Void on top of that doing some good damage, but the Will-O-Wisp help install things. Hawk is getting a little low. They're trying to finish one of them off, but they just simply can't. The Ethereal Blade nuke takes out Razor. He's staying dead. They tried so damn hard, but they could not kill one of the Meepos. And yeah, after that fight, there's just no chance. They call GG. Game 1 going to Gambit in this best-of-5 series. It's not even a 20-minute victory. It's 18.5 minutes.
Yeah, very impressive stuff coming in from Gambit here. The Hawk played it very well. He spent most of the time, and this is really key, I think, when you're playing a mid-hero like Meepo and the 2 supports are like constantly going on you, you have to leave the left shrine on the Radiant side for him, because it's a safer place to farm. The ramps are a lot further away from the creep camps themselves on the bottom side of the jungle, like towards the safe lane. So it's a lot easier for the supports to get in there and get a gank on you. But like FNG put a ward on that hill. It never got dewarded. Thompson obviously tried to go for ganks once he got the Atos, but unfortunately he was alone that one time, walked into a Meepo, just ended up dying. And then at that point, it was already like a 3k lead turned into 6k, and then 6k turned into 12k. They lose one fight at the shrine again on Gambit's side of the map, and then it's just that quick. When you have a Meepo with E-Blade and almost Scotty in an 18-minute game, and he has an Aegis as well, you're gonna have to defend your base. And unfortunately, Anti-Mage and Omni, those heroes just offer nothing in terms of base defense. It's like as soon as that Meepo gets fat, the game is done.
Gambit's felt like one of the more comfortable teams in this patch that I've seen, and I've been casting a lot of matches since 7.20. Definitely one of the most comfortable, if not the most, I've witnessed so far, as far as just their drafts and doing it somewhat unique styles. Obviously, with the Visage early in this event, now throwing out that final pick Meepo when it clearly made sense. So, props to them on that as well. On top of just this teamwork play that they continue to show. And OG, they banned the Visage the first game initially, and well, are they going to rethink that, or will they stick to their guns there and then just change things themselves in the draft? I mean, it is a best of 5, so obviously down to 1-0, not the end of the world here by any means, but they definitely it's going to be interesting to see the adjustments, to say the least, going forward.
Yeah, I think the Visage ban is fine. Like, I don't think that they really have to change that per se. But again, it's one of those things where they've been able to play the same style because no team has banned Visage against them until the grand finals. So this is the first time we've seen the Hawk play something other than Visage. I think he played one other hero, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But this is something that you just get blindsided by, and you go, oh, they have a Meepo player. And then, in like the second ban phase or the last ban phase, if you're going to pick something that's very susceptible to Meepo, now you know, so you don't get hit by it twice, right? It's one of those things where it's like a gimme from the draft, in my opinion. But yeah, good stuff for sure from Gambit.
Yeah, I think he might have played Tiny. I was kind of looking back there a couple of the games, but
yeah, I think he played another hero, but he mostly played Visage.
Yeah. Well, we got game number 2, a short break coming up. OG, talk things over, figure it out. Against Gambit Esports, though, is looking hot right now here in the WePlay Winter Madness Tournament. The $100,000 prize pool on the line. Off to a good start, but still a long series ahead of us, I'm sure. And we'll be right back with that. I'm Breaky CPK, joined by Draskyl. We got Gods and BSJ joining us as well. After the break, stay tuned. We'll be back.
ES.bet, your betting platform for esports, including only what's important, only your favorite Dota 2 and CS:GO. The perfect choice of events, gaming statistics, and live stream matches. The most convenient payment system and a stylish interface. For those always online, there's a mobile app with full platform functionality. Register right now and get your bonus on your first deposit. ES.bet. Just bet it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We got game number 2 now upon us. Gambit versus OG, the grand finals here, the Winter Madness, the WePlay sponsored event, and a $100,000 prize pool on the line. Right now, Gambit getting up 1-0 in these best-of-5 grand finals. I'm Breaky CPK, joined back by Draskyl once again, and bringing back in Gods as well as BSJ. I'm sure you guys thought you probably had a little bit longer of a break there, but that game just happened so quickly. I mean, 18.5-minute victory. BSJ, the Meepo worked.
Yeah, man, Gods was a hater. He was a doubter. I mean, I expected if they were going to win that it would be fast, because that's exactly how, if Meepo beats Anti-Mage, how it goes. And Draskyl mentioned briefly during the game how hard it is to play Anti-Mage in that game. It's like, if you're behind against Meepo, the thing about, like, when you play these split-pushing farmers, your goal is to think, who threatens me on the map? Like, what lane are they playing? Like, what objective are they going for? So where does that allow me to farm? And the answer about Meepo is, well, he plays every lane. He can thread me in any lane, and he farms every lane. So I can't go anywhere. And then I just die, and I feed. So that's just the harsh reality of playing anti-mage against Meepo when you're that far behind, especially when you don't have any serious threat on Meepo. And that just leads to you losing in 18 minutes.
Gods, this is a different draft so far. Anti-Mage into the Medusa.
Yeah, look, taking off my OG tinted glasses, we're going to, Gambit, they're the real deal. They've had incredible day. They 2-0'd NIP. They take game 1 off OG. Definitely a team that's kind of come out of nowhere, bringing in FNG as a new captain. And they've got some great ideas about drafting. And like that 10th pick Meepo was just so incredibly powerful. This Medusa Coddle duo that they've run numerous times has been very effective. OG immediately respond with an anti-mage. And you're not really as scared of a Meepo, because Meepo plus Medusa much less likely come out. You can also just ban the Meepo. This anti-mage pick feels pretty solid right now.
I just want to say I watched Daxx, or however you pronounce his name. I watched his perspective all last game, and like, because he's like this micro player on like these Visages and Meepos, and I was just so impressed by like his Meepo play. Like, he's actually just always had separate Meepos, like always kind of, you could tell he knew what OG was doing, so he was always ready to like poof away. He like left one Meepo top waiting for the anti-mage to show up, and then immediately throws the net and poofs the other ones in. Like, just a very, very good player. I was very impressed, and just wanted to comment on the shout out to how well he played that game.
Yeah.
Even though it was a good game for Meepo.
Now he's got an even harder hero to play in Medusa. Very high skill cap.
Rough.
Micro intensive. That mana shield. No, yeah, it's a bit smoother of a ride for him this time around, although it is against an anti-mage. So, again, Draskyl, the fact that they picked up we've seen them do this Medusa Coddle before, but again, into an AM, it makes it it's a bit of a difficult task.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as well, but Gambit have shown that they're actually pretty good against it. So obviously, when you open up with the Medusa, you're just going to assume you're going to see heroes like Anti-Mage, PL, stuff like that, right? So you obviously have a game plan to deal with it. And the more that I see Gambit play, the more, like, the traditional things that I think about in my mind, like hero matchups, just don't really apply to this team a lot of the time for some reason. So whatever happens, in the draft and the next 3 heroes for them, I'm sure will kind of supplement whatever issue they could be having with that hero.
Do they pick Troll on Gambit? Like, have they picked Troll with Medusa before?
I'm sure they play it. I think it was banned last game, though, right?
Yeah, I'm just curious, thinking about heroes that are good against AM.
They've normally done Monkey King with Medusa, looking at their past Coddle Medusa
Oh,
games.
yeah. The backline team fight.
They've had, 2 Monkey Kings with it, and then one game they had a tiny Axe Tide Hunter with it.
Oh.
Not a sold on that.
All you think about is, like, when I think of Medusa, like, what her role is, she stands in front and hits people, and the only way to beat her is to focus her. So Gambit does that really well by, like, when I say, it's like Axe, Tiny, and Tide. It's like, when you go on the Medusa, that's a yikes. Same with when you have the Monkey King hero. So it's like, that's his ultimate just serves as a nice counter initiation.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this game. This was the lineup that they had lost with Megas, right? On Gambit. They got Megas with Medusa against Anti-Mage and then lost.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so either way, like, I thought they had no chance of winning that game because they were behind with Medusa against Anti-Mage, and then they like made the game look like they were 100% going to win, and they just know a lot about this hero, so very looking forward to seeing them play it again.
Well, we'll see what those frontliners are going to be who can kind of protect the Medusa. I think like the Tide Monkey Kings are the two that kind of stand out. Tiny is banned out.
And we got a Elder Titan. Third pick.
That's counter initiation.
So you think that's
It's
why?
counter initiation. It's like a 50-50 AM matchup, I feel, because it's quite hard to stomp anti-mage reliably, but at the same time, if you ever get caught in a fight and you're next to the Elder Titan, you're basically just butter. So it's something that I feel like helps the Medusa in the anti-mage matchup, because if the Elder Titan in the team fight is just kind of nearby, the anti-mage doesn't really want to blink into that hero, I feel. It's annoying for him.
So, and a side note here, there's a couple of heroes that come to mind for me where the theme of Gambit Esports lineup, no matter what heroes it is, it's just that tanky death ball, as I keep going back to, the strategy of you're just bulking up, hard to kill. Heroes that come to mind to help with that, Ancient Apparitions 1 with the Ice Blast, and, to prevent these heals from being effective, but then Necrophos is another hero too that, for the heavy burst, you get them low enough. Either of those sound appealing?
The first one maybe a little more so. And I think Necro is a dead hero right now. And I don't like Necro versus Medusa because Medusa's health pool doesn't get that low ever. Because of Mana Shield, you're normally, until you burn through Medusa's mana, the health doesn't start to drop. So the Necro ulti doesn't really do a whole lot. I also just don't think Necro is very playable.
Our Nyx Assassin. Seen him a couple
Mana
times.
burn
Very
is
good
real.
against Elder Titan and Medusa.
Yeah.
It's so easy to carapace on the Elder Titan, mess up his combo. Obviously, Mana Burn is great against the Medusa. Also good. It actually destroys all three other heroes. Just very good hero. The only weakness of Nyx is his laning phase. Just doesn't really do much. He's got good regen. His damage is really low though. So he's got armor and regen, but he can't really CS that well if he is going to be played as some kind of hero that's allocated farm. But it might just be a 4 or 5.
This is actually a really good DK game. I think all the heroes that counter DK are pretty bad against the rest of Gambit's lineup. They might be still willing to pick something like OD just to deal with this DK, but we've seen it where this DK has a really rough start. Gambit does this and put him in a side lane, and yet he still has pretty big impact on the game. And they have very limited damage for him right now. Nyx does nothing to you. Anti-Mage is all physical, and so is Dazzle. So as of now, they have to respond to this pick.
Remember, now Nyx does have the break effect on his Vendetta. And
This is true. I forgot about that. This is true.
There's a little bit there. I was looking at that with this new Nyx stats that we're seeing every now and then. And normally, we really haven't seen the break effect impact too much. But yeah, DK picking into it. Don't worry about that. 20 seconds. Oh, gee.
How long does the break last? On
4 seconds.
4 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's 4, yeah.
Okay, so I was just curious. That's something I definitely have not seen come into play as of yet.
Ooh, OG Classic. Arc Warden. Against Medusa, just have those bubbles. Medusa does not deal well with Arc Warden, with the kinetic fields and just, getting the flux can be really annoying. This is a pretty tricky hero that Gambit's going to have to address with their last pick.
Anti-Mage Arc Warden. It's it makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Because he usually plays more mid-game focused. I wonder if he'll opt to skip the Midas after the Necro book, just because he has an Anti-Mage, but...
So last time he played it, he went Midas first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He went Midas
did he
Maelstrom.
really?
He did not go
Yeah.
Necro yesterday, yeah. And on that note, too, but he also ran it with a Phantom Lancer. So similarly, you kind of chuckle at that, BSJ.
But against...
Yeah,
Sorry, I was going to say, against Medusa, you might go Necro anyway, just because it's so good against that hero.
that's a good point, yeah.
Apparently, I missed the important series yesterday. That was the one I didn't watch. But
It's against
PL,
No Pango.
PL Arc Warden, huh? Interesting.
Yeah. I think they realize they can get away with it because I can't remember what they were against that game, but I think it was similar to this where it's there's a Medusa on the other side. They're not going to be playing super fast.
Terrorblade. Looking at it right here.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they're going to hit this maybe 20-minute timing where they can kind of 5-man with a Medusa, but at least your Arc Warden will have time to come online, get a Midas plus maybe Maelstrom before that 5-man Death Bowl gets rolling.
Interesting. The Meepo does get banned. Honestly, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
It could be the hero that you just put the Medusa safe lane and have that speed up the tempo of the game. I wonder, you guys, what you said is a really good point. The fact that they have all this space in the world because Gambit kind of lacks aggression. But I feel like even with Gambit picking Medusa, that doesn't mean they're going to play slow. The other three heroes can be very high tempo, and oh wow,
well, that's
that is a high tempo.
Oh, I love these Gambit drafts. They're a lot of fun to watch how they kind of treat this patch right now. They seem to be catching a lot of teams by surprise.
That is a really good pick again. Yeah, I agree. Very good against Arc Warden. Very fast tempoed for Anti-Mage to deal with. Like, Anti-Mage, yes, scales well against Lycan, but just the same idea as the Meepo in regards to the fact that it just speeds up the pace of the game and kills all your buildings, takes Roche. I wonder what the Lycan build now is. Like, do you still go Helmdom or do you go Vlad's? Like,
I assume Vlad's. I've not seen a Lycan in this patch though, personally, so I can't say for sure.
I mean, he's better just by nature of how the game is played. Even if they didn't touch the hero at all, it's a fast-paced hero that hits buildings, and buildings are very weak right now. So I would expect Vlad's too, honestly. Maybe like Vlad's Necro instead of the Helm. I'm unsure, but we'll see, I guess.
Again, the hero did get that changed to how his Howl works now, where it actually grants the attack speed and the armor and HP regen instead of the straight-up health before. So it seems like that's just going to be a nice steroid for